Dear students, in this class we are going to obtain an expression for the refraction of light at a spherical surface. That is, refraction of light at a spherical surface. So we are going to obtain an expression for refraction of light taking place at a spherical surface. That is, we are going to apply the Fermat's principle. By applying the Fermat's principle, we are going to obtain an expression for the refraction of light taking place at a spherical surface, right? So for that, this is the diagram. So if you look at this diagram, so here what we have, M dash is a spherical surface. As you can see, M dash is a spherical surface, right? So this is the principal axis. This is the principal axis which is passing through the center of this spherical surface. What is that? P. So P is known as the pole. So P is the pole. So this is the principal axis passing to the pole P of the spherical surface M dash. Right? What is O? O is an object. Right? So we have an incident ray OQ which falls on the mirror M dash, which is a spherical surface. We have one more ray, what is known as OP, right? So OP is one incident ray, OQ is one more incident ray, right? So when this OQ falls on the spherical surface M dash at point Q, it undergoes refraction. So it gets QI is what? QI is the refracted ray, right? So QI is the refracted ray. So we have one more incident ray OP which curves straight and meets at point I. So the ray QI and the ray OPI, they meet together and they form what is known as I. What is I? I is the image. So the refracted ray QI and the incident ray OPI join together and meet at point I, and I becomes the image of the point object which is kept at point O. So O is an object and I is the image. So we have incident ray OQ and ray OP. Here it undergoes refraction and both of them come and meet at the point I. So I becomes the image of the point object kept at O. Therefore, distance from here to here, P to O, is taken as object distance, that is known as the U. So U is an object distance. This is the image. So distance from P to I is taken as what? V. V stands for image distance. So V is the image distance and U is the object distance. O stands for the object, I stands for the image, right? And P stands for what is known as the pole, which is the middle point of the spherical surface M dash, right? Then what we have here is C. What is C? C is what is known as center of curvature. C is what is known as center of curvature. What is R? R is what is known as radius of curvature. C stands for center of curvature and R stands for radius of curvature and P stands for pole of the spherical surface. Then what is center of curvature? No, it is nothing but, so here I say this is the spherical surface. If you expand this spherical surface, what we get is, we get a one complete sphere, right? If you expand this, it will form you one complete sphere, right? That sphere has got a center. That sphere has got a center. That center we call it what is known as center of curvature. Center of curvature, right? So this is the spherical surface. Expand this, dot 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 dot. It forms a sphere. That sphere has got a center called C. So that C we call it what is known as center of curvature. Then that imaginary sphere has also said if you have a sphere, you have a center that has got also a radius. That also has got a radius. What is that? This one. This becomes the radius. What is R? Radius of curvature. R is known as radius of curvature. What is that? So we expand this, we get a sphere. which has got a center, which is known as the C, known as the center of curvature. That sphere has got a radius known as R. What is R? What is known as radius of curvature. Radius of curvature, right? So this radius of curvature is making an angle of theta with respect to the center of curvature C, right? So here this is the radius of curvature. This radius of curvature is making an angle of theta with respect to the principal axis, which is passing through the spherical surface M dash, right? And then the height of this Q from the principal axis is taken as what? It is taken as h. The height from here to here is taken as h, right? And what is mu1? Mu1 is the refractive index of this medium, which is the air medium. What is the mu2? Mu2 is the refractive index of the spherical surface. Mu2 is the refractive index of the spherical surface, which is going to be a glass medium, right? So this is the air medium. This is the spherical surface, which is the glass medium. So mu2 is the refractive index of this M dash, and mu1 is the refractive index of this medium, which is basically air medium, right? So with these things, now we are going to derive the expression for diffraction at a spherical surface by applying the Fermat's principle, right? So for that, what we say here, in triangle OQC, that is OQC, in triangle OQC, consider the triangle OQC. So in triangle OQC, we say that OQ square, this square, OQ square is equals to QC square plus OC square minus 2QC into OC into cos theta. Now how we get this? This we are obtaining as per the direction cosines. In mathematics we have what is called as direction cosines. So as per the direction cosines, if you apply the direction cosines for the triangle OQC, we get this distance OQ. So this distance OQ square is going to be square of this distance plus square of this distance, right? This distance plus this distance minus 2 into this distance into this distance into the angle between them, that is cos theta. So as per direction cosines, in triangle OQC, OQ square is equals to QC square plus OC square minus 2 into this distance, that is QC, into this distance, that is OC, into the angle between them, that is into cos theta. This is as per the direction cosines, right? Then, but what is QC? What is QC here? QC is R, radius of curvature. So it is replaced by R square. What is OC? This is OC, right? So this distance is what? U, right? So this distance is going to be what? R, that is radius of curvature. So this is U plus R. So OC is going to be U plus R. So U plus R will get square. So OC is U plus R. QC is R. So we are replacing corresponding values, right? Again minus 2 as it is. QC is R. OC is U plus R into cos theta, right? So we are taking the triangle OQC and we are applying the direction cosines and we are calculating the value of OQ square, right? So this is what we got, the value of OQ square. Similarly, we take a triangle QIC, that is triangle QIC. We are considering the triangle QIC. In this triangle, we want to calculate the distance QI. We want to know the value of QI. So therefore, we say QI square. QI square. This square is going to be what? It is going to be this square. Just again the same rule as another direction cosines applied for the triangle OQC. right? So here the triangle is QIC. So this square is going to be square root of this square, QC square, plus CI square, QC square, plus CI square, minus 2QC, 2 into this distance into this distance, minus 2 into QC into CI into cos theta. So this square is going to be, QI square is going to be this square plus this square minus 2 into this distance into what is known as cos theta by applying the direction cosines, right? Then, but what is QC? We know QC is R, so it is going to be R square. What is CI? This is CI, right? What is that? That is going to be this distance minus this distance. Distance from here to here is what? V. This is what? R. Therefore, CI is going to be V minus R. CI is going to be V minus R. Right? Then minus 2 as it is. QC is R. CI is V minus R into cos theta. Right? So we calculate the value of 4Q square and the value of QI square. Right? Now why we want this? Because we want to know the optical path. We want actually the optical path. What is the optical path? The distance covered by the ray of light from here to here and from here to here. That is OQ plus QI is the distance traveled by the ray of light. OQ plus QI. Right? So we wanted to calculate the optical path. What is the optical path? Optical path is basically mu into D. Mu into D. The distance traveled by the ray of light into the corresponding refractive index. Right? So therefore, the optical path is given as L equals to OQ plus QI. The distance traveled by the ray of light is what? OQ plus QI. Right? But what is OQ? OQ is nothing but the refractive index of this, that is mu into the distance traveled. What is the refractive index now? Mu1. So mu1 into this distance. What is OQ? Here we have an OQ square. So OQ equals to what? Square root of this or this into raised to half. That is OQ, right? Therefore we say mu1 into this term as it is raised to half plus what is QI? QI is again optical path, that is mu into D. What is the refractive index of this media? It is mu2. So mu2 into what is QI? We know what is QI square. So QI is going to be this term as it is raised to half. So therefore mu2 into this term as it is raised to half. So now we got the expression for optical path, that is L equals to OQ plus QI. We substitute the value of OQ and QI and we have taken the corresponding refractive indices. So we got the expression for optical path L. It is taken as equation number 1. Equation number 1. Right? Now, once you know the optical path, we know that as per Fermat's principle, whenever a ray of light travels from one point to the other point, compared to all other paths, the time taken is going to be either minimum, or it is going to be either maximum, or it is going to be stationary. It's going to be stationary, right? So in that case, L is going to be a constant. L is going to be a constant. So even though L is a constant, what is L? Optical path. So even though optical path is either minimum or maximum or stationary, it is a constant. But you have to observe here that this optical path OQI also depends upon this h. It is height. This OQI depends upon the height h. More the h, more the OQI. Lesser the h, lesser the OQI. That h in turn depends upon what? This h in turn depends upon this angle theta. Why? More the height, more the angle theta. Lesser the height, lesser the angle theta. right? Therefore, we say this distance OQ plus QI or the optical path depends upon H, that literally depends upon the angle theta, right? So this theta can vary, this theta can change depending upon the height H, right? But the optical path as such is either going to be maximum or minimum or stationary as per the Fermat's principle, or in other words, L is going to be a constant. So if L is constant, then we can say dl by d theta, dl by d theta is going to be equals to 0. Why? Because L is a constant, that is the optical path as per the Fermat's principle, which is either minimum, a constant, or maximum, a constant, or stationary, again a constant. So differentiation of a constant is going to be 0. Therefore, we say dl by d theta is equals to 0. Right? So what we are going to do now is we are going to differentiate the equation number 1. Differentiate the equation number 1 with respect to theta, and we are equating it to 0. We are equating it to 0, and we are going to simplify by differentiating the equation 1, and by simplifying it, we are going to get the final expression for diffraction at a spherical surface, right? So now we have to differentiate the equation number 1 with respect to theta, right? So now dl by d theta, so dl by d theta, so differentiate this with respect to theta. Keep this term as it is. So now this is like x raised to n. So d by dx of x raised to n is nx raised to n minus 1, right? So differentiation of this term is going to be what? This is going to be 1 by, this is going to be u1 as it is into 1 by 2 into this whole term as it is raised to 1 by 2 minus 1, it is going to be minus 1 by 2 into differentiation of this term is going to be 0, and then here differentiation of this term, that is differentiation of cos theta is going to be sin theta, that is minus sin theta. So minus into minus is going to be plus, right? So it is going to go to r into u plus r into sin theta. So into 2r into u plus r into sin theta, right? So this is taken as x, this is taken as n. So d by dx of x raised to n, nx raised to n minus 1, right? So differentiation of this is going to be 1 by 2, mu1 as it is, 1 by 2, this term as it is, raised to 1 by 2 minus 1 is going to be minus 1 by 2, and then differentiation of this term, it is going to be minus sin theta minus and minus going to be plus. So we are going to get u plus r sin theta. Then for the second term, the same rule, that is keep u2 as it is plus u2 as it is. This is 1 by 2 into this whole term as it is raised to minus 1 by 2, raised to minus 1 by 2 into differentiation of this term. This is going to be 0. Differentiation of this term, that is cos theta again minus sin theta. So what we are going to get is into 2r into v minus r into sin theta. So 2r into v minus r into sin theta, right? So by differentiating, this is what we are going to get. Now here this 2 and this 2 get cancelled with each other, and this 2 and this 2 get cancelled with each other, right? So now this can be written as what? Mu1 into r, mu1 into r into u plus r sin theta. Take this term to the denominator, right? So similarly here, mu2 into r into v minus r into sin theta. Take this term to the denominator, right? So what we get? We get it is differentiating equation 1 and simplifying, what we get is mu1 into r into u plus r into sin theta. That is mu1 into r into u plus r into sin theta. This is taken to the denominator. But what is this term? This term is nothing but OQ, right? So this divided by OQ minus here the second term. So mu2 into r into v minus r sin theta as it is. Mu2 into r into v minus r sin theta. Mu2 into r into v minus r sin theta as it is. And this term is taken to the denominator. But what is that term? That is nothing but qi. That is nothing but qi. Right? So this is equal to 0. So we have differentiated equation 1 with respect to theta and we have given to 0. Right? Next. Now we say that if q is very close to p, where is q? This is q. If this q is very close to the point p, the pole, if this q is very close to p, then we say that the distance OQ is going to be equal to u. What is that? If this q is very close to the point p, then the distance OQ, the distance of p now is going to be q. The distance OQ is going to be what? U. And distance QI is going to be what? V. So if this point Q is very close to the point of P, which is here, then OQ is going to be U and QI is going to be V. Right? So we are replacing this OQ by U, QI by V. So here we have OQ, we replace this by U. Here we have QI, we replace this by V. Right? So, and replacing the values and put, transferring it to the other side, what we get? Mu1 r into u plus r, this term as it is, divided by OQ is taken as u. This sin theta and this sin theta get cancelled with each other. So this is transferred to the other side, equals to mu2 r into v minus r divided by v. Right? Then, so further simplification, this r and this r get cancelled with each other. This r and this r get cancelled with each other. So what we are left with? We are left with mu1 divided by u, mu1 divided by u into u plus r as it is, equals to mu2 divided by v into v minus r as it is. Right? Then further simplification, we are dividing this entire equation by mu1. So dividing this entire equation by mu1, what we get? We get 1 by u into u plus r. That is, if divided by mu1 get cancelled with each other, we are left with what? 1 by u into u plus r. This term equals to mu2 divided by mu1. That is divided by mu1. So mu2 by mu1 into v minus r divided by v. Right? So if we divide this entire equation by mu1, this is what we get. Right? Then, after this term, then further simplifying it, this is multiplied with this cross multiplication. You cross multiply this with here. So if you cross multiply here, what we are going to get? This is going to be mu1 into, this is u divided by 1 by u. U get cancelled with each other. So what we get? mu1 plus mu1 into r divided by u plus mu1 into r divided by u. I repeat, cross multiply this here. So when you cross multiply, what we get? mu1 into u and u get cancelled with each other. So we get mu1 plus mu1 into r divided by u, mu1 into r divided by u. Right? So this is equals to this term again here. mu2 into v by v and v get cancelled with each other. So mu2 we get, because v and v get cancelled with each other. So mu2 minus mu2 into r divided by v minus mu2 into r divided by v. Right? Then we are further simplifying this. This equation is further simplified. So this mu1 is transferred to this side and this term is equal to this side. Right? So by transferring mu1 here by taking this side, what we get? So we get here this is going to be mu2 divided by v, this term, plus mu1 divided by u. What is common? R is common. R is common. So therefore, by transferring it to this side, by transferring mu1 to this side, by taking R as common, we get mu2 divided by v plus mu1 divided by u into R equals to mu2 minus mu1. This is equal to this side, mu2 minus mu1. This can be further simplified as this R can be taken to this side. So what we get? mu2 by v plus mu1 divided by u equals to mu2 minus mu1 divided by R. By transferring R to this side, right? But here what we say? We say that but u is negative. What is that? We are saying that this distance u is negative. Why u is negative? We are saying that this distance is negative. You know, we have certain conditions. What is that? Sign conventions. There are certain rules for sign convention. Means if this is the spherical surface, if the ray of light is coming from left side to the right side, then all the distance to the right side will be taken as positive. All the distance to the left side will be taken as negative. So as per the sign convention, if this is the spherical surface, this is the left side, this is the right side. Just like coordinate geometry, all the distance to the right side will be taken as positive, all the distance to the left side will be taken as negative. So therefore, V is a positive, U is going to be negative as per the sign convention, right? So here, since U is on the left hand side, we say that U is negative, right? So if U is negative as per the sign convention, so here this is going to be what? Minus U. It's going to be minus U. So therefore, what we get? We get mu2 divided by v minus mu1 divided by u equals to mu2 minus mu1 divided by r. That is, by taking this u as a negative, finally we get mu2 by v. This is going to be minus mu1 by u equals to mu2 minus mu1 divided by r. So this is the final expression for refraction at a spherical surface by applying the Fermat's principle. So we got mu2 divided by v minus mu1 divided by u equals to mu2 minus mu1 divided by r. What is the mu2? Refractiveness of the spherical surface. What is the v? The image distance. What is mu1? Refractiveness of the first surface, that is the air surface. And what is u? The object distance. So this is equals to mu2 minus mu1 divided by r. Right? So this is going to be the expression for diffraction at a spherical surface by applying the Fermat's principle, right? So this can be further simplified. This can be further simplified as, if suppose this is the air medium. If this is the air medium, then mu1 is going to be what? 1. Mu1 is going to be 1, and mu2 can be taken as mu. In that case, what we get is mu2 is going to be mu by v minus 1 by u equals to mu2 minus 1 divided by r. Because mu1 is going to be 1, mu1 is 1 for A, mu2 is taken as mu, right? So if the incident light is coming from air media to glass media, then we say that mu2 is mu, mu1 is 1. So this can be further simplified as mu by v minus 1 by u equals to mu minus 1 by r, right? So this becomes the expression for the diffraction of light taking place at a spherical surface, right? So this is how one can obtain an expression for diffraction of light at a spherical surface by applying the Fermat's principle, right? So what all we did here? First we calculated the optical path, that is OQ plus CQi. After calculating the optical path, we differentiated that to theta and we equated it to 0 by applying the Fermat's principle, because the time taken is going to be either minimum or maximum or stationary as per the Fermat's principle, right? So differentiation of a constant is going to be 0, therefore dl by d theta is going to be 0. We differentiated the equation number 1 and then we simplified it. and we got this final expression as what? mu2 by v minus mu1 by u equals to mu2 minus mu1 by r. Let us go to see the expression for diffraction of light at a spherical surface by applying the Fermat's principle. I think we will stop at this point and we will discuss some more derivations in the next class. Till then, you take care. Bye bye.